a few minutes. Kind of a quick overview. Um, Kind of some things I was going to discuss. Mark kind of guided me a little bit as to some things maybe that would be of interest. But what I would love is I know that Mark, we said maybe the last 15 minutes be a Q&A, but to be honest with you, I would like the whole thing to be a Q&A. And, if you guys have a question, I've kind of got a road to carry us down and some film and that type of stuff. But if you have a question or there's something uh, we want to go down a different path, I'm sitting here in my office, so I've got every bit of film for the last 10 years probably. So we can find something and find an example of something pretty quickly. But kind of the overview. I was going to talk about knee reads. Mark wanted to how I teach the knee read on uncovered gap combos, and I'll explain that here in just a minute. Lateral helmet redirection versus movement on inside zone. And I think that's also, I say inside zone because that's kind of what we're talking about, but it's the same thing on gap schemes as well. I'll go through that. Then I'm going to touch on stake offs and then stake and rakes versus movement on the inside zone. And then kind of the last thing is 60-40 on inside movement in pass protection and twist, just kind of a different thought process, I think. I started this 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Used to teach pound the post and work the post foot back up the field, and just through some guys that I know, hey, Alan, there's maybe a little bit easier way to do it. So I'll kind of go through those things. But before we get started, I think it's important to kind of, when I talk about what a cover gap combo and an uncover gap combo is, kind of explain that, because that'll then help us kind of work through some of the other stuff. And I'm not going to go into super great detail in teaching the combination itself, but when I talk about a cover gap combo, very simply, it is a combo in which there's a defender in the gap that we are comboing. So the right guard and center, as we look at them, we call this combination a Glock right here. I've called it many different things over the years, but we call that a Glock. We're talking about that Glock where we're comboing a defender that is actually in the gap. We refer to that as a plus combo, which is going to be important here in just a minute when we talk about helmet redirections. And we define a plus combo as one in which the linebacker that we are comboing to is play side of the down lineman that we are double teaming. And then I'll very quickly flip over, and then a minus combo. So this would be inside zone right as we're looking at it on this picture. I apologize, I didn't pause it. And we are comboing, but this backer is behind the down guy or backside of the down guy that we are comboing. It's still a cover gap combo because we are comboing a defender that is in the gap. But we are minus comboing because we are comboing to a linebacker who is backside of the down lineman that we are comboing. So I think that's important as we kind of get into what we're going to talk about, that we're on the same page terminology wise. And then the last thing is an uncover gap combo. Very simply would be between this right guard and this right tackle. But this is a combo in which there is no defender in the gap that we are comboing. And that is very simply how we define an uncover gap combo. So some quick definitions of some things that I think are going to be important as we kind of work through the main topics. The first thing is knee read on uncover gap combos. So I'm going to refer back to that picture, but what we're fixing to talk about is this right guard and him reading the knee of that defensive lineman as we are comboing up to that backer right there. So this part of the presentation, that's very specifically what we're going to talk about is that knee read and how I teach that and why we read the knee. There's a lot of guys that teach it and actually read the hip, I believe. Um, we read the knee because I feel like it gives a much quicker indicator to the offensive lineman that is reading. I think I can see that knee, and most importantly, I can tell whether it's a 45-degree knee or a knee that is one gapping, or a 90-degree knee, which we call a two gap knee, but that knee really has to violently open. If he is going two gaps over, so going from C gap to A gap, that knee has to really violently open. And I think I can see that much quicker than maybe I can with the hip. So that's why we read the knee to see movement a little bit quicker. The next thing, when we're knee reading an uncovered gap combo, is our uncovered lineman does what we call a control scooch. When I first started coaching it, it was a bucket step, and I'll go back to, if I can, I'll go back to that previous picture so you can see it. But when I first started coaching this, we would the uncovered lineman would bucket step, a lateral bucket step, and then I would teach them to read the knee. But what we were doing is we were beginning to kind of open that front side knee for me to see. And then my second step would cross over for me to see. And what we were ending up doing is we were kind of ended up running a bow. And we were getting back fitted by linebackers quite a bit, especially with the track of our back. When we run inside zone, the track of our back is the front side foot or front side leg of the center, and he is chasing the butt crack of the center. Okay, so our inside zone landmark is really tight, and I think I think it's vitally important when you're coaching on offensive line that it is super important where the ball is in relation to the blocks that you're teaching and the timing in which the ball gets to those blocks, because that's going to affect the reaction of the defense and reaction of the backers. So if you're teaching, when I first started teaching outside zone, inside zone, honestly, when I first started learning zone, it was stretch, which was 1 yard outside of the tight end, and inside zone, which was initial landmark, was outside leg of the tackle, which now all of us would probably truly call mid zone now. We don't run that track, so I would teach that differently. What we're talking about today is a track that I would say is tight on the guard to tight on the center, and understanding where the ball is in relation to those blocks. So back to the control scooch, we call a front side scooch a control scooch, but because I can't overwork the footwork, and I'll tell you why we use that footwork in just a second. On the backside, if we are plus comboing, so we would be comboing to that backer right there, this three technique. We would call this a kill scooch. And now he is full scooching and he is attacking the sternum of the defender. We call that a kill scooch. On the front side, when we are uncover gap combo, and we call that a control scooch. And all we're going to do is small gather with our inside foot, and then we're just going to pop our outside foot. I call that a scooch step. Some of my guys cheat, and that's okay. You'll see their footwork to me. They'll actually kind of baby bucket and then gather with their second step. But the big thing to me is that we are staying lateral on the line of scrimmage initially, and we are staying very square, because then I can handle what is going to happen best with this down guy and those four things that he does right there that I've just drawn, and this backer who is not going to hard pursue because of the track of our back that we've previously stated. So I've got to keep him very square and very tight when we are knee reading. Mark, does that, and guys, stop me. I know I'm rolling, but stop me if anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. It kind of, I forgot the name of the coach. There was a guy that used to coach for Ball State, and I think he called it scoot or something like that. Is that the kind of step you're talking about?
Very similar. And I'm going to show you all this on film here in just a second.
Okay.
So I've got drill tape, and then I've got game tape of it. And then when we are knee reading that defender in an uncover gap combo, I teach the guys that there are three reads. The first is an up and away read. And if you can think of that defender that we were just looking at, that knee goes up the field, or when the tackle would go to drive block him, that knee actually would work away from me. If that is the case, when I control scooch, if that knee goes up the field or goes away from me, I am now going to bang back and get violently vertical right now. So now I'm going to try to work back and create a combination backside. I am not searching for contact, but I'm just banging back with strength off of my outside foot. That way, in case as this center or whoever my backside lineman is, in case as he drive blocks that thing, I'm getting violent movement, then I am now creating the double team back to that offensive lineman to help. And I'm going to show you all that here in just a minute. The second knee is a 45-degree knee, or what I call a one gap knee. That knee of that defensive lineman, he is going from C gap to B gap. He is one gapping with that knee. It is on a 45-degree into the gap right now. I need to be able to recognize that. And anytime we get a 45-degree knee, we are drive blocking that knee. It just became a drive block in whatever gap I'm control scooching to. And then the third knee is a 90-degree knee, or a two gap knee, where that knee is opening, the toe is opening, it's going flat down the line of scrimmage, and he is trying to get all the way across my face to the inside gap. And we see a ton of that, especially with zone pressures, old NCAA pressures, and that type of stuff. We still see a good bit of it. So, and I'll teach you what we do, but on a two gap knee, we're actually going to hip flipper and snap our eyes front side, looking for the next thing coming. Now, I got a clip in here where our guard doesn't do a great job of that. Here, coach, this. So, this for us, that's our center. This is our right guard. We would call this a Glock. And you know, I've called it different things at different places I've been. But we would be glocking to this backer right here. Now, we do not have a guy in the gap, so we do not treat this as plus and minus. That is only when there's a defender in the gap, and we're going to get to that here in just a minute on the helmet redirection stuff. But here, I'm just showing you the three reads as we practice it. There's the control scooch, and you can kind of see he's cheating with his front side foot. That's okay. Then he gathers with his backside foot. We get a little bit crossed over. I don't like that I would like that foot. He's a little bit big with his footwork. I would like to slow that down just a hair. I'm going to show you a little bit better example of that here in just a minute. But he very much, and you can see his eyes, and that's why we always practice with stripes on our helmets. From day one of spring ball and day one of fall camp, they're going to have a stripe on their helmet. That way I can see where at least what direction their eyes are in on everything they're doing. And you can see his eyes are looking directly at that knee. And that dude is working up the field or away from him. So now he's going to get violently vertical so that we don't overrun this backer, or this backer doesn't backfit us. So that's the first knee in the progression. Here's the second knee. This is a left guard, and this is a center. This is a little bit better of the control scooch by the center. You can see we're not moving nearly as far as the first guy did. But now we get knee at me. That's a 45-degree knee. That's a one slant, a one gap knee, and we are drive blocking that knee right there. You can also see the left guard coach. Now he got movement. He's going to hip flipper the movement, and his eyes are snapping, and he's looking for movement working at him in that direction. That way, if we get a pirate stunt where we get a 3 technique and a 5 technique, He is seeing that from the get-go. And then he's going to hip carry that movement to protect the edge of his center right there to the linebacker. And then the third knee, this center will see, is you can see him looking down right at it, but now that knee turns. That's a 90-degree knee. Now, he is now going to become the hip flipper guy, just like the guard was a minute ago. And he is going to ride that cross face movement, but he is snapping his eyes front side, because a lot of times if he's getting a cross face, there's another guy showing an A gap right there. So he's snapping his eyes front side. He's just hip carrying it to protect his backside guard, to give his backside guard time to get there. Because a lot of times if we are comboing that 3 technique, the backside guard has a 2-eye on the backside. When movement happens, he's then got a helmet redirect. I'm going to show you a game clip of it here in just a second. But those are the 3 reads and how we practice them. And then I'll kind of get into some game clips. So this same center that I was just griping about his footwork just a minute ago, we got it a lot better. And you can see he's getting knee up and away. So now he is getting violently vertical and creating a hard edge. And if he gets contact right there, then we will combo the contact to the backer. But we're really creating, and we're going to talk about stake-offs here in just a minute, but that's very similar to a stake-off right there. I wish we would have done a little bit better. My right guard he's crossing over. I don't like his footwork, and we missed this twist. We should eat that twist up. That's why our tackle pops his inside foot. Here's another picture of it, and we're looking at our left tackle here. So our tackle and tight end are doing what we call a team out to that guy right there, and it's going to become an uncover gap combo. So he moved. It went from a cover gap to an uncovered gap, and now there's the control scooch. You can see we control scooch. Now he gets movement up or away from him, and now he's going to bang back and get vertical, and he could even ride that a little bit longer before he angle steps. We don't want he angle steps out too early, and now the guy technically can beat him back across his face right there. But that's that up and away knee that we were talking about. All right, here is movement. We're going to watch this clip again to watch this right guard, but for right now, we're watching the center, and he is knee reading the 3 technique. So he is in a Glock to that front side backer. You can see he will scooch it. Film looks like, is it jumpy to y'all?
I could see it.
Okay. You can see he scooches, but now that's a 45-degree knee or a 1-gap knee. And now he is getting his back foot in the ground, and he is drive blocking that slant. That is no different than he's got a front side shade now. Now you see the nice work, and we'll talk about this guy, but you can see his eyes snap just like we worked in drill work just a second ago. His eyes are snapping, and now he's looking for movement. We'll talk about him a little bit more in just a second when we talk about helmet redirections. Big thing to us is that we run off the ball. We try to do all this while running off the ball, not sitting at the line of scrimmage. That's one of the Rourke kids right there, Coach. That he was up.
That's the older one.
Yeah, he's at BC. He was at BC. He's now with the Jaguars.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got the younger one now, and he's amazing now.
I watched him once already this last year, and I was very impressed.
I mean, he can throw it. He can throw it as good as anybody I've been around.
Hey, Coach. He was out of the pistol in the last one. Did he reverse pivot, or did he open on the last clip? I didn't see the quarterback.
He should. The quarterback should. excuse me, coach,
Mhm.
he should go, he's going to go face to read. So
Okay.
he'll go butt to whole side. So this is an even called inside zone. So he'll go butt to call side, eyes to backside.
Gotcha.
We're probably 70% pistol, and probably 30%. And I'm talking about base downs. Third downs were probably much higher offset or sidecar, just for protection purposes. So we do a lot of our run game out of it, so that every time we're not in a sidecar that it's pass, and every time we're in the dot that it's run. But we're first and second down. I bet we're 70, depending on the year. This year, probably a little bit less with Curtis Rourke, who throws it more. With Nathan Rourke, who is an unbelievable runner, we're probably 85 to 90% pistol with him. All right, and right here we're watching the right guard, and now he's going to get two gap movement. And I just showed this clip. We don't do a great job at right guard right here. He needs to do a better job of hip flipping. But what I want you to see, I think it's a great teaching clip to show the difference in the knee of the defensive lineman. I think I can gather that information that he's going two gap much quicker by reading the knee than I can reading the hip. And that's very simply why we read the knee versus reading the hip. Any questions? Any questions about uncover gap combos and knee reads?
Coach, with that guard, when he's hip flipping on that two gap movement, is he trying to move vertical as the two gap is coming?
Yes. I want him vertical. And coach, I'm going to go back to, because I think I'll go back, and now that you've kind of seen it, I want this center. This center in drill work is doing exactly what I would like him to do. See how he's fighting vertical? Yep. Because naturally what happens, they'll cross over versus the movement. And now you got penetration that happens on the back hip. And the help guy that's coming, he's going to be slow to the party, because initially he is cutting a defender off, and then he's got a helmet redirect to get over to that party. So we want to try to hip flipper, and I tell them, hey, we're riding that thing vertical. It's no different than right there. We are fitting a normal gap scheme double team. Mm-hmm. Just the movement got us to that point. And I teach it just the same. We want to ride that covered knee through the crotch of the defender. I want to, that hip needs to stay high. The offhand, we're trying to work ear to hip, with our movement, pumping, sawing the log with our offhand. That backside foot is the brace foot. That's why I'm not fired up. I show this clip that we just showed. Our right guard does not do a great job of that on here. I like this clip because I think it's a great clip to teach the knee read, but I don't think it's a great clip of what this right guard should be doing right here. He does not ride it with his backside hip. He actually lets his right hand turn into it a little bit, and we don't get off on the backer. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He closes himself off a little bit instead of riding that and getting his eyes front side. So I show you, hey, we got to get better. And right here, we were not scooching. This is before I started teaching. This is an old clip. And it's before I started teaching the control scooch right there. You can see how turned we are right here. Versus when we're doing the control scooch, you can see how square we are. And I think that has made a world of difference.
So the first step is lateral, and then you're going right upfield, right? Heads looking play side knee, lateral, and then you're moving.
Now, on this one, it is lateral. Coach, you saw we kind of cheat our footwork. The big thing to me is that this second step is a gather step, and it goes lateral as well. So we should actually be cheat, gather, cheat, vertical. So it's
Gotcha.
almost like I'm dancing. It's almost like I'm dancing right there. In fact, let me get, I can show you real quick, and that's why I want to do this at the office.
Coach, this is where you get the bull effect you're talking about, right? When you do the scooch.
What's that, Coach?
This is where you get the bull effect, the one you're talking about when you do the scooch?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
See, right here, if he wouldn't have got slant right here, that guard would have actually run a bow to that backer, and that backer would have back fit us because of that footwork. The scooch, we're not going to run a bow. We're going to stay vertical.
Right.
And
The
that's
scooch
why
takes away the bow.
The scooch takes away the bow. That's why I got away from teaching the bucket step when I'm completely uncovered. These should be some, it'll take a while. This is a pretty big cut up, and we'll have to bust through a few things here and there, but I think this will kind of give you a good, let me get, Coach, my bad on the film. Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. So both the center is uncovered and the backside tackle. They're both going to use scooch footwork. Now we are push ID'd, so we are comboing this to number 5. Our tight end is divide zones, so they track. So we pushed, but you'll see why we do that. See, Coach, see, I just he's a small lateral bucket, gather, pop, and now he's got a lot of heaviness and a lot of power on that right foot right there.
Yeah.
So now he's setting that hard cutoff edge for that backside guard right there because he got knee away from him. Now he's gonna set it vertical, and now bang, and now come angle step out to his backer right there. Now the backside tackle is a little bit different, Coach. We're rolling on the backside back here. I mean, you see how much ground that guy's covering with his scooch. And then he sticks his right foot in the ground and angle steps and now blocks that backer going back door on it.
Is that just a square pull? Or
basically, he has a tendency sometimes, he does not cheat with his first step, and that's okay. I have gotten out of the big thing I don't want them to do is I don't want them to close off their front side hip, and I don't want this backside foot to cross over.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want it to be a far foot pull or a square pull. He tends to be a little bit long. See how he's almost that tackle, his outside foot is right behind his heel. I would rather it be a little bit tighter. The only reason we use this footwork when we're uncovered is because we are going from a narrow base back to a wide base. So I don't want contact that happens right now because of where our base is. Coach, did that answer it?
Yes.
I know I got off.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Are your covered guys scooching or are they bucket stepping?
They are bucket stepping.
Okay.
All covered guys bucket step, or on the front side they over and up. We actually power step on the front side of inside zone. Back uncovered guys and backside tackle always scooches. Mark, is that good with
yes.
And I'm not rushing through, but we can stay on that all night if y'all want.
No, let's keep rolling. I think it's good. It's a good paradigm shift for me, in certain things. I see it differently now that I've been listening to you. So go keep going, Coach. You're doing great.
Coach Toro, I was gonna say too, what I'll do too is I'll put the those YouTube clinics also in the
Yeah.
chat. Because I know Coach goes more in depth talking about the scooch and uses some similar film from those clinics. So if you guys want more info on that too, that's definitely something that that I'll post so that you guys have that.
They're worth the time
Oh,
to
100%.
watch them. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we had talked about the helmet redirection, and you know, there's 2 times that we do it, really 3. Eyes on a cover gap combo. So when we load, we look, and I'm going to show you this on film, but immediately, even though I'm not reading the knee, when we're in a cover gap combo, the front side covered guy is, when he picks his foot up, his eyes better snap and look front side to see if he's got front side movement coming at him. And because we're so vertical with our second step, we have to stick the we call it a delivery step, but the load deliver, the deliver step has to be planted quickly in the ground. And then if I get movement, I've got to push right now out of the combo laterally. And I want a helmet redirect lateral, because if I don't force them to redirect lateral, the slant is going to pick us in the hip. And that's why we teach it that way. And it's going to helmet redirect to a drive block. And then the second way is back to that plus and minus combo thing. We had your bets, and if the backer is plus, we fit it differently than if the backer is minus. But what happens if the backer starts plus, but at the snap, post snap, he becomes a minus backer? Then the covered guy, who is half man, has to helmet redirect and force the uncovered guy out of the combo, back out of the combo. And then we also use it on a drive block, which you've already seen. If I get movement on a drive block, I'm gonna snap my eyes and helmet redirect to movement right now. And the reason I teach it helmet redirection is I think it drives a focus into the guys that if we continue on the vertical path that we're on, we're going to get picked by the movement. So we have to go from going vertical. Then when I see movement, I've got to immediately angle step. And I define an angle step as we are opening that front side knee so that front side hip will open slightly. And now I want to laterally helmet redirect, and I want to hit the movement with my eyes. I want to snap my head and snap my eyes, and I want my head to go lateral, because then my body will follow it. And I'm a big believer that, you know, and then Coach, you know, because our head is forward, we need to violently force the eyes, head, and body lateral to keep from getting picked by the movement, kind of like what we've already talked about. And I'll kind of show you a progression of how we teach this, and I'm going to show you then how it applies. But this is, so each one of these guys, you're looking at all right side guys on this side, all left side guys on this side. This agile bag, or whatever, step over bag, represents the middle of the middle of the stance of the defender. So this gentleman right here is being covered, and let's say he's a right guard, then this is a 2-eye. Let's say this is a left guard right here, then he's being covered by a 3 technique. So each one of them is covered by a backside defender here, and everybody is running zone right. So the backside guys are all over here with zone right, and these are all front side guys over here. And we're just working our footwork. Then we'll go zone left, and now I'm covered play side. So if we go zone left, everybody's covered play side. So we start off zone right, covered play side, zone left, I'm covered backside. Then I shift them over where you see them now, and I go zone right, so I'm covered backside. Then I go zone left, so they're covered play side. So a front side lineman covered play side is going to use different footwork than a backside lineman covered front side. And we work all of those in a 5-minute period. And then after I finish the 2-step, they just go 2 steps, making sure they're keeping their titties on their knees. We're not elevating when we step, which you're going to see some of that. These are all my guys working at one time, which I love. Some of it'll be good, some of it'll be bad. And then we progress to movement. So then, hey, I'm covered backside, and we take our footwork. There's load deliver footwork right there. We're fitting the combo in the top of the shoulder pad. We're fitting the backside foot, the deliver foot in the crotch of the defender. And then when I bump the whistle, that's initiating that they got movement coming right at them. And we now want to come out of that, and I should have eyes. Everybody's eyes should be looking in that direction. And then when I bump the whistle, you should see them angle step, and you should see that head laterally redirect with their helmet. So we begin teaching it in drill work. Then we work it in the shoots as well, and we work it in all of our combo periods. I should have another. Okay, here's an example, and this film is cut off. This is just a double team combo half man. We never fit a combo both guys half men, but I wish his pad level was down a little bit. We're playing with our titties instead of the tops of our shoulder pads with the guy on the left side right here. But what we're working is escaping and overtaking combinations. That's what this drill is. We never fit a combo where both guys are half man. But one is going to be the escaper and one is going to be the overtaker. And anytime we overtake, this gentleman on the right is going to be the overtaker. We want to laterally helmet redirect to force the overtake. And you can see him really go laterally with that helmet to force the overtake and to force the the half man out of the combination. And these are where we're working this so that when we do get those, hey, we were thinking it was plus. So this lineman is, in effect, with how this backer reacted, he fits this like a plus combination. If we were in a plus combination, this old lineman would be down the midline right here, and he would be the whole man in the combination. So that's why I overemphasize the helmet redirection to force the guy out who was whole man. And then the third way that we use the helmet redirection, we've already watched this clip, but the third way we use it is on a drive block. And now when I get movement, I'm going to hip flipper and snap my eyes. And if I got movement coming at me right now, he should angle step and that helmet should go lateral right at contact. And I'm going to show you a better angle of it in this pick game right here. That I think you'll see. A little bit better the redirection with the helmet. So this guard, he is low delivering and he is looking, and I get movement coming at me. Well, I'm thinking I'm vertical up to 36, but I get movement coming at me. I've got to turn and go lateral with that helmet. And I've got to open that knee, because if I just keep going vertical right there, we're just going to get picked in our hip. And now we won't be able to overtake the movement. And now my center should be hip flippering, and he should be riding that a little bit better up to that backside backer. But you can see him giving that movement off. But that's go ahead, coach. I'm sorry.
No, when the right guard snaps his helmet across, is he looking at knee or is he just looking at movement?
He's looking at movement. I don't teach him. The only time I teach a true knee read, and coach, we very easily could. I don't think he's looking at that right there. He's periffing. I want him more periffing on this. You know what I'm saying? And he sees the movement coming at him and he snaps his eyes.
Now,
'Cause
why
he's-
did you say you don't teach knee read on this one? What's the difference?
Because I think he's got to be seeing that linebacker.
Okay, he's looking at 36. I got
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Yep,
only
totally.
reason. We're periffin. He better be looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think it's more of I'm seeing the big picture and I'm seeing movement rather than the definition of movement.
Got you.
You know, I'm not as much looking to see if this guy's going to go all the way. I don't think we live in that world where I'm in a combination here and we get movement that crosses two gaps there, if that makes sense. Usually that only happens in an uncovered gap combo. But if it ever started happening in a cover gap, we would have to start reading the knee on it. And you possibly could. They were they're quick trigger backers. So we were looking for run throughs real quick out of pit. Now here's a great example. That same now they're going to stem to a 4-down. They were in an odd bear eye, we call it, but they're going to stem to a 4-down. And we get corner pressure. And you can see the left guard, he snaps his eyes. Now he doesn't really have to helmet redirect because that is really kind of two gapping across his face right there. So, but I think the backside guard here, he's going to cut off and then he gets movement. And then he does a great job of going lateral with that helmet out of the movement in order to get his center out of there to the next guy. Now, I wish our backside guard would have rode that with his backside hip, like we talked about a minute ago, and now he would have been able to come off on that backer right there and not got beat across. And then, you know, everybody be talking about how I look at this, and these are the things where I'm like, God, dog, we could be a lot better, you know.
Coach, so that left guard, he's keying that 3-tex knee, and because of that knee no, he's not. Okay.
He is
Okay.
drive blocking. He better be looking right down his sternum.
Okay.
What is 60 doing? He looks like he wrong steps. He goes opposite direction. Is that
He
correct?
does. He does that. He knew there was edge pressure coming.
Gotcha.
He knew based off the safety.
Mhm.
So I let them pop their inside foot and protect that guard. That way, if it's tight one gap right there, he can take the edge off of that. So the guard's got time to drive block. And then, oh crap, I got movement. I got a lateral helmet redirect and get there. And I want that tackle to kind of take the edge off of that if he can.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's just a situational call, it looks like.
It is. Sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. My younger tackles do this all the time. They pop their inside foot all the time. Why? Because the track of our back is the play side. You can see it. He's the play side leg of that center. So I'm not interested in getting width in the zone from the play side tackle.
It's kind of like
I'm
a hinge in a way, yeah?
Yeah, they pop their inside foot. Have you ever heard Bob Wiley talk about drive blocking a cylinder?
No, I know what you're talking about, though. I'm familiar with it.
So what we do is I treat this guy like a cylinder. We'll pop the inside foot, and then I'm going to angle step back at him, and I'm going to block the center of that cylinder as I see it once I angle step back to it. Rather than landmarking the sternum or landmarking, if I pop my inside foot, then my hips are going to be open slightly, and I'm going to drive block the center of that cylinder as I see it.
Cool.
And then this is the center. So this dude was a pretty good player. So we got even though he's technically uncovered, we've got the combo call on here. So he's low delivering, and now we're going to get 3 technique spike. We're going to get one gap from the 3 technique, but he's going to watch the center. He's going to helmet redirect right now, but you can see his eyes. I love what his eyes are doing. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's all in the eyes. And then I think the left guard does a great job, coach. There it is versus movement, where we now hip flipper and really ride that movement and take the edge off of that for that center to give him time to helmet redirect to it. Of course, we pulled it, but and there's all kind of teaching involved in this right here. I don't like what our backside tackle's doing right here. He's going way too far. We're lucky right here. Two took the cheese a little bit. This is one of the main reasons that we scooch. He overcooks it. And that way I should be reading those feet, and I should read those feet as veer spot feet, we call it. Old veer coaching, where that guy's the dive player and that guy's the quarterback player, squeeze, scrape, whatever you call it. We call that veer spot feet. So I should feel that. And now one of the main reasons we scooch is so that I can sit lateral. And now if that guy's flat down the line of scrimmage, I'll just sit on him. That guy will veer spot, and we'll have a big cavern coming out the backside of it and get them out of gap. That's one of the main reasons we and I can show you film of that. We're doing it right. Questions on that? I know we've gone over an hour. I don't know how long we got, Mark.
You can go as long as you want, Coach. I'm loving it. This is great.
Okay. Stake offs and stake and rake versus movement. When there's what we've been looking at is movement coming at us. We've been getting movement crossing our face. Now we're going to get movement that is running away from us that we can't catch in the combination, and how we handle that. And big thing is we want to jam once I whether I step or whether I scooch, whatever footwork I'm using. If the defender that I'm blocking is slanting away from me or into the zone, then I know something else is coming back behind me. So now I want to jam the inside foot in the ground, and I want to create force through the ground back into the backside movement coming at me. The big thing to me is you got to stay lateral with your head so that you're on your hips. Like we talked about earlier, if my head continues to go forward, or if my head is going forward, the movement's going to pick me. We've got great examples and bad examples. The bad examples usually it is because our head is going forward. And then on a rake, we call a rake when the defender is now two gapping. So I go, it runs away from me. I go to stake off, but now when I stake off, the movement crosses my face. I now want to rake that movement across my face. And anytime we rake, this is very, very important. This last little comment right here. Anytime we rake, of course, I can't get us to it. I apologize. Sometime I'm going to go slow. Anytime we rake, we must accelerate our feet, and that gets the color out of the gap to get the backside O lineman to the second level. And I'll show you some good pictures of that. Here's how we drill it, and I know y'all are recording, that way y'all can read the drill description on it. But here's very simply how we drill it. There should be a drill clip. There it is. Okay. So this is a left tackle. I don't know why it's speeding through. I apologize. All right. So this is a left tackle. This is a 3 technique that he is going to double team. We call it a boom. All right. And this is the backside 5 technique, but this can be any O lineman, doesn't matter. He is going to slant away from him. Okay. When he feels the movement, now the big thing is we can elevate when we scooch. and we want to create force back through the ground into the movement coming back to me. You can see he does an unbelievable job. We want ankles outside of knees. We want positive shin angles right there. And we are creating massive force back into that dude right there. And then if that does not cross my face, then we want to angle step, and we're now climbing to the second level out of, and this cuts off quick, but you should see him anytime we bang, you see him, it cuts off, but we angle step to a second level defender. And here's a good example of it on, if you'll look at the center here, and it's actually versus movement, but we're getting cross face movement here, and we're getting double A gap pressure, and he's actually going to bang back on the pressure and give the guard time to get there, because the guard is double teaming. And just so you know, we're pushed out to an overhang player, so he is actually in combination to an overhang player, but now he bangs back on the backer right there to stake that off, because he got movement away from him. And that's what we do anytime we get movement, front side movement, we're going to stake off on the back side. And again, you can kind of see he gets a little bit turned, and this is before we were scooching. You can see we're a little bit open right here. I don't like it. Excuse me. But the stake off right there on that backer is awesome. We got a couple really good examples here. The left guard, so he is in combination with the center to number 59. So we are bucking this bear defense, or cub defense. We call cub with one backer, bear with two. So this cub defense, so he is actually comboing, and this tackle is by himself. But if that nose runs away, that guard is going to stick his foot in the ground and now create force back through the ground into that defender to set that double team, or to set that cutoff by the backside lineman, and that creates a gap in the defense. And again, the lateral head to me is the key to the whole deal. And here's the Colts doing it, and they're doing it with a bucket step. So we're looking at the right tackle right here. He actually bucket steps, and really kind of bucket steps under himself, but kind of same thing. That three technique is running away or plussing the zone. And now we want to stick that inside foot in the ground. His head's going a little bit forward. I'm not a big fan of what his head's doing. He should be lateral with that head, and he probably would actually rake that across his face, and the tight end would end up climbing up to the second level defender. And then, hang on, I should have some stake and rake film. There we go. And we drill the stake and rake the same way as we drill the stake. The only thing now is the rabbit, or the defensive guy, is going to slant and get across the face. And now we want to take and torque and accelerate, or rake and accelerate the movement that is crossing our face. And I'm just showing an example of, we pod up in fours, and we're doing this drill, and I've got one where I'm just showing it, but our whole group is doing this. We're potted up in fours across the goal line, and everybody's getting work, and then we just roll clockwise. Everybody gets the same work. But now you can see like 66 and 53 here. They stick their inside foot in the ground and go to bang back, but now that movement's crossing their face. We want to rake it across our face and accelerate our knees to clean up the backside lineman, because he's the one that's now got to get to the second level defender. Here's another good example, but you can really see we're lateral. He sets that inside foot in the ground. I apologize. My bald head. I haven't paid for a haircut in a long time, man. My wife has found great ways to use that money though. But you can see how, hey, he really throws it and now accelerate the feet. I don't know why that clip's cutting off, but here, that same dude that you just watched doing it. Now we knew the overload 2-gap pressure was coming right here because of the alignment. We made a call. This tackle knew that the end was dropping so that it was hotting this way. And we just made a lemon drop, or rain call, rain drop. And now we knew that big movement. So he kind of cheats his footwork on the backside. But I show this clip because how vitally important it is to clean up the backside tackle and to get color out of the gap. You can see him rake it and accelerate and get that color so that tackle can get to that second level defender now. That little fundamental, I think, is vitally important. The rake and accelerate, because now it'll get color out of the gap and get him cleaned up to the backer.
So, Coach, do you teach a heavy hand with this, or are you just focused on the feet and the hand just kind of naturally comes with?
I focus on the feet and the hand. I try not to overcoach the torquing.
Okay.
And anytime we coach a torque where we are actually becoming long arm on a run play, I want them 4 steps in the ground before they start torquing it. Because I feel like, even like on gap scheme, you know what I'm talking about. I'm comboing a 3 technique that slants on gap scheme. And if I torque it too quick, we're going to give up A-gap penetration right there before I need to. I've got to drive block it before I can really become one. I want to stay two-handed a little bit longer so we don't give up penetration, because that's right where the point of attack is going to be.
You want to make sure that that inside guy can get him, so then he can come off
Yes.
to then that backside back.
Yes. Yes. And we will. I mean, right now there's a big push in O-line play, about, I mean, because of Jason Kelsey, and they're running stretch. And I mean, he just takes the nose, and I mean, just throws him out of the club with his backside hand. And I believe in teaching that. I believe in teaching and blocking with extension. I believe in teaching blocking long. I want us long as we can. There's strength and length to me. So I do teach them to bench press with that backside hand, but I'm careful to stop. There is some trunk rotation involved in it, but I want to be really careful about over coaching that part of it, especially early. That's got to be late to me. That's late coaching, not early coaching in a play.
You start with that feet, and then the hand. The hand is always something to clean up.
Then the hand is something, yes. But if they start going early with the hand, I start getting on their tail.
Sure.
So that's kind of it on the and I got to slide out. That's what was messing me up. I got to slide kind of out of order right here. But do we have time to go over the 60-40?
Yeah, let's go.
Is that something y'all are interested in? Hey, I'll shut up if y'all want me to shut up.
No, please keep going.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So real quick on the 60-40. I don't know why. There it is. When we get inside movement and we redirect, we call it 60-40. And I straight stole this from Chris Strasser, who is now the O-line coach with the Houston Texans, but was the O-line coach with the Indianapolis Colts, has been at Boise State, has been at UW, was with the Broncos for a little while. I'm very fortunate. Our defense coordinator here and he worked together at Boise. So I was able to make connection, and Indianapolis was 4 hours from us. So I was able to go over there a couple times, and he actually came over here and helped get me a little bit squared away. But this is straight Howard mud. This came from Howard Mudd. This came from playing athletic, which now really talk to some of those guys, and it's really about staying balanced. It's not so much about having heavy weight on the inside foot, or it's about staying balanced. You're more athletic when you're balanced, and this made a ton of sense to me. Because I got big old linemen, and I mean they're trying to pound the post, and all you hear clock, 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 hearing their feet just hit the ground. And then I'm watching fast defensive linemen get past their hip, and now we've got to fly our hip open, and now our hip's in a bad position. So, kind of their deal, and it's been really good for us. It's on post movement by a defensive lineman. We want our post foot to become slightly negative. We say 60-40, but I really mean 51-49, just a little bit hair negative. And then, but do not mean 70-30. We are not open in the gate. We don't want to open the post foot up. There's no head on an inside move. If your head goes to contact, your hip is going to fly open. We all know that. And we talk about taking the defensive lineman further than he wants to go. And it made sense to me when I heard Chris Strasser say this: don't fight him, use him. Don't fight him, use him. Use his movement to carry him further. But if you sit there and pound your head against a cement wall all day, the dude wants to go in there anyway. You're not going to get your post foot up and inside of him if he's a decent football player anyway. Use him rather than fighting. And that made all the, when he said that, I was like, man, I've been, I got to try this anyway. And then I've kind of gone through why the 60-40. I think it allows you to win the hip battle, and I think it allows you to be more athletic in your movement. Okay, and here's the main way that we drill it. And the defensive guy or the rabbit guy is the one with their backs to us. The offensive lineman is the one with their face to us. And I give them, they have from the edge of the line to the edge of the line to work. And we always start with a kick. So we kick and punch. And then I want them to use as much of the line as they possibly can on defense to make them work. But then here, we want to go violently back inside, and I want to hold as much of that line as I possibly can, but we're actually going to lose our post slightly. I apologize. It keeps. See if I can just stop trying to rewind it so y'all can watch it. I'm going to slow-mo it. But now the inside guy, you can see his inside foot drop ever so slightly, but now he can become athletic and he can stay balanced, and we take the guy further than he wants to go. All right, so just some application of it, watching the left guard in this cut up right here. So watching the left guard from the Packers, and this just looks effortless to me. And we used to fight and fight and fight, and we'll talk, we don't get picked a ton. You would think, well, we get picked, but our set with our center, our uncovered lineman, is going to protect himself from getting picked if we do give up a little bit of penetration. But we end up flattening a lot of guys without giving up a ton of penetration. Back in the day, I would be mad at this left guard right here because he's slightly losing his post foot. But he's back in a much more athletic position, and I think can stay in front of the guy far better. And now we're looking at the left tackle. And I know these are freaks. You got to be a freak to play in the stance that he's playing out of, right? Look at that. And he still kicks. He's not even using it as a pre-kick. He still kicks. But you can see there goes the 60-40. And now I don't lose the hip battle. I'm able to win the hip battle, and I take the excuse me, take this guy further than he wants to go, and I flatten him. And here we are, our left tackle. I don't like his initial set. We got our way. I like his balance, but I don't like our hands. And the guy humps him inside. He's got a little bit too much weight outside, and the guy humps him inside. But that's okay. We're just going to go 60-40, and we're going to take him further in that direction than he wants to go. And we're running right by the face of our quarterback. Here is our left tackle doing it. Different kid. This is our starter. The guy you just saw was our backup. This kid got hurt midway through the season, and then we got him back after about 3 games. He had an MCL injury. This is our starter right here. But you can see, back in the day, I used to would fight and fight and fight. We got to get that post foot coming up the field. I don't fight that fight anymore. And we stay in front of a lot of people when they go inside. And that helps us on twist. Because now we're not getting penetrated where that guy's beating our hip. And now this guy can come bang. And Mark, that's the thing I think you wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. I love it because we're our hip stays in a 51-49 or a 60-40. It doesn't get into a 70-30 where our hips are like this, which they used to. When I used to try to teach, get the post foot coming up the field, we would lose that. And now that dang hip would fly open and we get picked and we can never bump that twist whatsoever, you know. Yeah. And I'm going to show you real quick, and this is the last clip I've got, but this is a right tackle. And he's getting picked. So I've set a 5 technique and he's getting picked by the 3 technique. And there's that 60-40 again that we're working to get that hip through and to get back squared up right there. But that's just that part of the twist drill right there. But the 60-40 part of it. Questions? I know I've rambled on. It's almost 10:30.
That was great, Coach. Thank you so much.
Coach, is your 60-40ing that so is it kind of like how your that lead foot you kind of switch responsibilities without allowing your hips then to fly open? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I don't ever tell them we're switching our post and our kick, but yes, that's kind of what's happening. Yeah, but we want to fight our hips back square.
Yeah.
As much and as quickly as we possibly can. I like this drill right here because we are going 60-40, but then you can see he is really trying to fight those hips back square and get his hips square to the line of scrimmage right there.
Yeah. No, yeah,
which is the ultimate goal, in my opinion.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Man, I hope everybody's awake.
Man,
I hope I didn't.
I think our minds are just kind of like there was a lot to chew on, you know, and so like the wheels are turning up.
Did I cover too much ground?
No, I wish we had like another hour or two, and I know we can't do that. But Lucius, what'd you think? You felt like you got your questions answered?
Yeah, it was great. A lot of gaps being filled. You know, you see these drills on Twitter and all that stuff, and there's some stuff that had questions that was answered. It was great.
I did also post in our chat. Coach did a couple of YouTube clinics for I believe it was a Canadian podcast, and he does go more extensively on especially the head, lateral movement of the head, as well as then talks about his double teams a little bit more. I know for me, for sure, I'll definitely be re-referencing those again. So definitely some more good information to go along with what he talked about tonight.
So what I like is it looks like, when we go side cart, they like to slant, towards where they're thinking we're going. Now we can fix that problem,
Yep. Yep.
rather than calling a different play. So I think that's a huge win for tonight.
We want, we want, I love gap scheme versus movement, but we want inside zone versus movement. And we have created, we're not really that good, but we've we're decent against movement because our kids try to do, I think, for the most part, what we ask them to do and put their eyes where we ask them. So we kind of invite movement, and I get more scared when we line up to play a defense that's just going to line up and lay up in there with a 3 technique and a 2 eye, and they can kick your butt, than I can one that moves. I feel like one that moves, that gives our little engines it gives them a chance, to kind of move somebody.
Yeah.
Coach, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Because of all the awareness about concussions, how much has your coaching technique changed, or if it has, if any?
It really has not, Coach, because I've always been a big believer in contacting with the eyes. And I think if they do that, right guard that I kept showing is a heck of a player, and he's going to get a shot to play in the NFL. But he had a habit of ducking his head, playing with the top of his headgear rather than his eyes. And I just believe if you play with your eyes. Now are you guys using the padding on the helmets, on the outside of the helmets during practice like the NFL went to? Are you guys doing that?
No, we're not.
So we have never done it, but Coach, to answer, I think we're going to do that this fall. I think we're buying those for kind of, how the NFL did all their O line, D line, and then I think their linebackers and tight ends had to wear them, during training camp at least. I think we're going to kind of look at doing that. I don't know the science behind all of it.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Coach, are you guys as heavy with inside zone, or were you this last fall at least as heavy with inside zone as you were a couple years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be 70% of our run game. Just the way we package things and put things together, and that one has to handle everything. We're trying to attack a certain coverage and we don't get that coverage, then the quarterback's going to check to inside zone. A lot of our other runs, we're only going to run them if we get this look or that look or this look or that look. But inside zone, because of kind of how we package and we give a quarterback a check with me. Well, the default is going to be we fall back to inside zone because it can handle everything, and so if it handles everything, we gotta practice it and run it. So that's why we're that way.
Yep.
And Tim Albin's as sharp a football coach as I've ever been around. The offense coordinator that was the offense coordinator and is now the head coach. I mean, he is brilliant. And I've been around a couple really good ones. Tommy Condell up in the CFL was one, but Tim Albin, I mean, is through the roof brilliant. And he's an unbelievable man too. But he's the one that kind of put all this together. And in my mind, he's the reason that, him and our players are the reason that we've had a lot of success.
I do like that you're using flippers too, and not just strictly hands, but there's flippers and shoulder blocks, a variety of different kinds of methods.
Yeah. We're not strong enough just to use hands.
Coach
You know.
Flo, you said I think you had a question.
Yes, here's Coach Flo. I'm from Germany,
Hey,
and I
Coach.
have some. Yeah, I have a question. So,
Yes, sir.
what do you or what does your players do after they not get picked by an NFL team or don't get in UCFL or something like that? So, because we always look for import players and especially all linemen, because in Germany we have a problem that we have you think you have some big guys, but most of them they don't want to do sport. So and we always look for import players. And if you have, so we for maybe for next year, so 2024. So we
Yes.
are we are paying about 500 euros per month, and you can sleep with some guys from our team. So if you have something who interested in that, because the problem is I don't hear how you're informed about European football. It's not so specialist, but there's a new league in so called the European Football League. They also needed some players because you can grow your own players. So they picked a lot of the big GFL where we are. So the big teams from the GFL picking from us, and we picking from lot, and so go
Well, Coach,
on.
if you
But especially O-line men are really rare.
if you
Sorry.
do you have a Twitter?
Yes, sir.
Coach, just follow me at Rudolph 53 or at the Rock. Heck, I can't even think of it. Mark, the Rock OL play.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'd have to look it up though.
The Rock OL play at Gmail or whatever, and just that's my Gmail too. So, Coach,
And I
when
can
it
give it
comes
to you
that
too,
time,
Coach.
Perfect.
just hit me up. I'd love to if we've got some guys that want to come. I love to connect you guys.
Yeah, that would be great, because it's really hard to get some good linemen, especially always on Euro players. If they are riding you, you know, especially if
Okay.
you are riding me, I guess you're not that good what we want. So
Right.
but sometimes 28, 30. And I think it's a good experience, especially for young guys. So we had last year someone, I don't know on which college, but he had a tryout at UCFL this year. And
Mm-hmm.
so maybe for some kids they don't want to quit football. It's a good I think it's a great experience to get somewhere else, go away from mommy and
Yep.
make his own stuff. So that
That's
would be
awesome.
great.
Let's
I'll get you
connect.
the contact info too.
Coach Flo, if you go
Thank
to
you,
the
Coach.
first link, if you go to the first link that I sent, that takes you to Coach Rudolph's bio on the Ohio website, and his Twitter handle is directly in there. If you click on that link and go to that bio.
Sorry, Coach Vladimir, where?
Yeah. If you go to the first link that I sent at the very beginning, his Coach
Oh,
Rudolph.
I'm sorry, I was late. I had that time issue.
Okay, I will copy it and resend it right now in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it directly to you.
Any other questions before we let Coach Rudolph go to sleep?
There's one last question, Coach.
Yes, sir.
For some youth coaches that might be on, what would be some advice starting at the young level, flag football / intermediate football, where would you start? And I guess
Loving those kids. That loving those kids, and stance. Teach them how to get in a good stance that they can move efficiently in all directions. But loving those kids, and this game is such an unbelievable life laboratory that they don't get anywhere else. But I know that kids today, they have to have a good time. So you got to find a way to have them enjoy the game, because we need to keep them in it, while at the same time teaching those lessons. Um, you know, but just football wise, I see two things. I see young men that they come out of wherever they play high school, or and they don't understand what a good stance is. And then secondly, I think they don't understand how to use their hips, and how to come out of their hips, to create heaviness and power at contact. So those are the two things that I would fundamentally really stress. You know, um, heck, a lot of them can't step because they're in a terrible stance. But love them. Oh man,
it's good, coach. Awesome. Thank you.
thank you.